This is my Pencil Spaces dashboard. Because I teach students from all over the world in different countries, including the UK, there's many different exam boards that I need to be familiar with because my students don't just sit one exam board. The way that I work is that I will put inside my spaces, let's just open this one. All right, here's a board that I've used with another student. You can see my handwriting on here. You can see their handwriting on here. So it shows a lot of collaboration. I've got a screenshot here from ChatGPT. This is one of the times when I asked a question to summarize something that I felt it could do much better, much easier, much quicker. And so I dropped that in here. But this is the main point of this. This is the specification for electric fields for this student's exam board. It happens to be Edexcel. And that's how I scaffold my sessions. Student Michael, here's everything you need to know, everything your exam board, your examiner expects you to understand and be able to demonstrate about electric fields. But there's more than electric fields on an exam board. There's magnetic fields, gravitational fields, there's capacitors. Rather than dropping these screenshots here of electric fields, which I have in my resource library, I've got them, I've taken the screenshots. For every single student, rather than making a fresh board, I've instead made a template. And I go back to my dashboard. You'll see at the top, I can create a new space. I get this new student, I found out what exam board they're sitting, and I need to create them their own personal learning space. Now, rather than just creating a blank space, which I can do, but when I do that, I would have to make the boards, and I would then in each of those boards have to drop in the screenshot of their specification. So again, I can scaffold that session with what's on there. I've made templates. Here we can see A-level Edexcel. That's exactly the one we just saw there. Let's just click on this. One tap. This is now creating a brand new space based on the template that I've told it to create it with. If I go to boards, here's where the magic happens. You can see that there's been a board created for every single subtopic of their exam board. And you can see that I'm a nerd, so I've color coordinated them into mechanics is green because it's a paper 1. Electrical circuits is green because it's a paper 1. Materials is yellow because it's a paper 2. And I can go down further mechanics, electric and magnetic fields. And if I click on any one of them, here's one at random, nuclear radiation. The specification for his exam board, her exam board is already there. I can hit the ground running with this student as soon as they come into their very first session. All the hard work has been done so that the next time I have a student of any exam board, I just click on that template and the space, their personal learning space, which is what it will become over the 2 years, is set up in a way that facilitates optimum learning, searching, revising, however you want to phrase it. Here's an example of a board that I've used with a different student. The reason I want to show you this is because an example of how I would categorize, organize, and set up my board. And it can be quite overwhelming. There you go, it goes really far down there. The most recent thing I've done with this student is stopping distance, looking at examples of how we would explain that on an exam. But if I go down here, I've sectioned off Newton's laws. So if this student comes to this board, it's the Forces Part 2 board. I've made this board specifically just for the content that is AQA GCSE specification Forces Part 2. Here's this section of the board. It's Newton's laws. So if she wants to remember what we did about Newton's laws, she knows exactly where to find it. She knows it's on the Forces Part 2 board, and it's in this section, distinguishable from the rest of the board. There's the specification section, so she knows exactly what the examiner expects of her. Here's all the notes that we've done down here. You can see that I've highlighted certain things in different ways. We've done little diagrams. She's been able to write something down here. I've drawn an example of hitting a bowling ball with a golf club. I'm just reminding myself of what we did here. And we explained how would hitting a bowling ball with a golf club be different to hitting a golf ball with a golf club. The idea that the extra mass would induce a much smaller acceleration. So the bowling ball would just topple off the tee, whereas the golf ball would, fly 400 yards down the fairway. Again, I've got a highlighted equation here. I've made it in thick pencil, and any annotations I've made in a slightly thinner pencil. I've color coordinated any forces that I want to add to a diagram in a different way so it stands out from the diagram. This would have been over 2 or 3 sessions as well. We didn't do all this in one session. There's some exam questions which I use my question bank questions related to a very small and niche subtopic, and I just drag and drop them in. It's just a screenshot. I can lock it in place if I want to. She can write over the top of that. It's all here. It's all on this board, and it's all organized really well.